On today's episode of the Duck Zone 503 podcast, we preview the linebacker position heading into spring ball 2023. I'm your host, Dominic Peterson, and this is the Duck Zone 503 podcast where we talk all things Oregon football. Whether this is your first time viewing or you're a longtime viewer of the podcast, I kindly ask that you go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button down below. Really helps with the algorithm and growing the podcast. But most importantly, you know what helps grows the podcast, guys? Telling your friends and family about the podcast right here on YouTube, the Duck Zone 503 podcast, that is. Really appreciate everybody who locks in, goes ahead and subscribes down below. And then also hit that follow button on Instagram and Twitter at Duck Zone 503, guys. That's the quickest way to get the quickest updates directly from me right about all things Oregon football. So go hit that follow button. Really appreciate it, everybody. Never the doubt, I'm going to continue rolling out my spring previews here. If you haven't checked out the other position group previews, go check those out right now. We're going to go ahead and preview the linebacker position for the Oregon Ducks heading into spring 2023 right now. All right, guys. So the Oregon Ducks went into the 2022 season last year with what many considered would be the best linebacker group in the nation. I'm talking the best. Number one, led by veteran Noah Sewell, breakout candidate Justin Flo. We were really excited as a fan base for this defense in general and this linebacking group to come together. And what an unfortunate event it was as we watched the defense get torched game one by Georgia and Stetson Bennett. I think Stetson Bennett had the most passing yards this last season against the Ducks. Flo never reached his full potential. Part of that is injuries. Part of it might have been just not grasping the scheme all the way. And while Sewell paired with him was solid, the unit as a whole was pretty disappointing. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I mean, came in with a lot of hype. Both these guys were top two linebackers in the recruiting classes, and they just didn't live up to the hype, man. Now Sewell and Flo both are out the door. Sewell's going to join his brother, Panay, out there in the NFL. And while Flo hit the transfer portal and joined the Arizona Wildcats. So Flo finds a new home. Sewell's going to chase the NFL dream. Congrats to them and hope they have the best time forward. Now, Oregon's going to have some guys really step up now. Okay, if those were your top two guys and now they're gone, just like the DBs, the front seven, the linebackers, they're going to have guys step up this year. Oregon brings back a few veteran returners like Jeffrey Bassa, and then they added a few key transfer portal additions as well. So let's get into it, guys. Jeffrey Bassa leads the way here. Bassa enters his junior year after blossoming into a new role last season. Bassa began his career at safety in 2021 before moving into the linebacker role last year. Recorded 31 solo tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, a pair of sacks, and 2 interceptions. Pretty all right stat line. Doesn't really blow your mind there. He'll compete to start for the will linebacker spot in 2023, no doubt. His experience and versatility will make him a valuable part of Oregon's defense this next year. And last year, he was a pretty valuable part of the defense, pretty much taking Flo's spot at that will spot. And now, while PFF didn't say PFF has him graded really, really bad, guys. One of the worst linebackers, probably the worst linebacker in the conference graded in PFF. But never the doubt, he did all right. Okay, I'm not going to say he did good. I think somebody can take his spot. I think somebody should take his spot. Jeffrey Boss is a tough one because safety was his role, and he's kind of big for a safety, kind of a little bit slower. So they put him at linebacker, and he did really well off the bat. And then this last year, he just kind of fell off a little bit, kind of missed some tackles, wasn't always in the right spot. And let's just hope that's kind of the growing pains of switching from safety to linebacker year one. Maybe this year, having a full spring, having a full fall in that linebacker position, and playing it from the year prior, maybe Bossa will come around and play a lot better because PFF graded him really bad, guys. Really, really bad. Next, let's talk about Keith Brown. Keith Brown, young stud. Brown stepped into a bigger role in 2022 for Dan Lanning. He appeared in 12 games and had 12 solo tackles and 1 sack. Now, again, these stats are not coming shooting off the wall for you. I know it. I get it. But these guys have potential, okay? Keith Brown's a big, bulky guy, kind of like Noah Sewell was. kind of has that frame of Noah Sewell. With Flo and Sewell out the door, he's definitely going to have an opportunity. Now he's going to have to compete with transfer Justin Jacobs for snaps at that middle linebacker position, no doubt. But I think Keith Brown is solid. He started in the Ohio State game in 2021 and did his job fairly well. I think he can build on that and become a star player, maybe. We'll see. I just mentioned a player in Justin Jacobs, a transfer. Justin Jacobs is a transfer from Iowa. He blossomed as a sophomore in 2021, started 8 games, 53 total tackles, 1 interception, 2 passes defended, and 1 forced fumble. Right there. Best stats on the team right there if you just want to take that as a linebacker so far. So a leg injury did limit him to just 2 games last year. That's probably why he transferred. He entered the transfer portal, joined the Ducks in December. Jacobs has plenty of untapped potential, and after bulking up and entering a defensive system that can be more productive for his skill set, I think he has all the makings for a big breakout year as a transfer guy. It's just, how does he come off that injury? How does he look? Because in 8 games, 53 total tackles. I mean, this guy's a beast. This guy can get down. Playing in the Big Ten against those big O linemen. I mean, this guy's experienced doing that. Coming to the Pac-12, this guy should dominate for sure. So it's just about how does he come off that injury, right? Now let's talk about Devin Jackson. So Devin Jackson, he was one of my first interviews on this channel. So when I first launched the channel, he was one of my first guys on the channel. Jackson was a 4-star prospect out of Omaha, Nebraska in the 2022 recruiting class. He appeared in 5 games as a freshman, just put up 1 solo tackle. That's it. Not much done. You don't expect much from freshmen, so I get it. He'll have a chance to compete for a much bigger role though this season. After spending a year and learning behind Sewell, Bossa, and Brown, that should have him ready to make an impact regardless of his role in 2023. So he should make a bigger impact than he did this last season for sure, regardless if he's starting, regardless if he was just a role player kind of stepping in. I think he should make a bigger impact than he did last year, no doubt. This guy has elite speed, track speed. This guy's a track star. Major speedster at the linebacker position. Your fastest linebacker on the team, no doubt, Devin Jackson. Also, guys, if you guys want to go check out that interview I had with him, I do the Get to Know series interviews with the recruits. I always try to get them on when they sign with the Ducks to do a Get to Know series, just to deep dive into their life. And I did one with Devin Jackson early on. If you guys want to go search that up, somewhere way down there in the list. All right, and then last but not least, we got another guy, Harrison Taggart. Taggart was another 4-star linebacker from the 2022 recruiting class, pairing him with Devin Jackson. That was a nice pair there. He joined the Ducks out of Draper, Utah this last season. He is not yet to appear in a Duck game, though. So we haven't seen him, but it's nice to pair him along Jackson and Brown for a reserve role out of those 3 guys, kind of fighting for spots there as a reserve player. And a strong spring if he plays well. And I've heard a lot of good things, guys. I've heard a lot of good things about Harrison Taggart and how he can disrupt the quarterback. And what do the Ducks need? Disruption of the quarterback, 100%. And Harrison Taggart brings that 100%. So if you're looking for that, keep your eye on Harrison Taggart. If he can have a solid spring, you could definitely see him in that rotation of players that play. All right, guys, I think that covers it. Harrison Taggart, Devin Jackson, Justin Jacobs, the new addition there. Keith Brown, Jeffrey Bossa leads the way. Overall, I think this is a solid pair of linebackers. None of these guys really had the opportunity to show what they can do if they're like the man guy, just based off kind of Bossa and Sewell having the majority of snaps last year. I do think that Bossa can have his role beat out if one of these guys start really developing into a star player. I think Justin Jacobs can definitely be that leader in this room as he gets more comfortable. He's new, so I don't expect him. I kind of sense that he's kind of a soft-spoken guy, kind of a quiet guy, but I don't know. I'm just kind of guessing here. But I think Justin Jacobs is a solid addition for sure. They also added another linebacker from Arizona State named Connor Sewell. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. He didn't really do too much for Arizona State. Arizona State just wasn't good defensively, so I don't expect him to play a lot, but that is an addition to talk about within itself. Never the doubt guy. The linebacker position's pretty solid. I think if you can add through the transfer portal, I think you do it. Maybe try to get a guy to drop off the team that doesn't play. or in spring just had a bad spring maybe and not looking like a guy you want to keep. Try to add talent to the room because I really do think that the talent in the room took a big drop off with Flo and Sewell. Now, given Flo and Sewell didn't necessarily give you a lot of production, I think the potential of those guys did not get maxed out with these coaches and with Mario Cristobal. And I think Lanning's scheme is not the type of player for Flo and Sewell. I don't think that's not the type of player Lanning's looking for. So as Lanning gets more of the players that he wants and maybe develops these younger guys that he brought in, we'll see what they can do. We have yet to see really these guys play and have big roles. So it's going to be interesting to see these linebackers have bigger roles and see what they can do. Never the doubt, guys. I really do appreciate you tuning into these videos. I'm your host, Dominic Peterson. This is the Duck Zone 503 podcast where we talk all things Oregon football. If you haven't already, guys, hit that like and subscribe button down below. Most importantly, telling your friends and family about the podcast on YouTube here, the Duck Zone 503 podcast on YouTube. Really appreciate you guys. As always, go Ducks. See you in the next podcast.